I never imagined I'd be the kind of person to sit down and tell this story, but here I am. If you've ever felt lonely even while being married, if you've ever looked at your own life and thought, how did I get here, then maybe you'll understand what happened to me. My name is Emily, I live in a quiet suburb in the Midwest, and for 10 years, I was married to a man named Mark. When I met Mark, he was everything I thought I wanted. He was dependable, hardworking, the kind of man who never missed a bill payment, never forgot to put gas in the car, never left the trash out on the curb. He was safe. At 24, safe felt like love. But as the years went on, safe began to feel like distant. Mark's job consumed him. He worked in finance, and late nights were just part of the package. At first, I told myself it was temporary, that once he climbed a little higher, we'd get more time together. But temporary stretched into years. The house grew quieter. Meals together became rare. The warmth I used to feel when he walked in the door turned into something else, relief, maybe, but also resentment. And in that emptiness, I leaned more and more on the only consistent presence I had, Buddy, our golden retriever. Buddy was the kind of dog who could make even the hardest day softer. His tail wagged like it had a mind of its own, and his eyes carried that unshakable loyalty only dogs seem to possess. He needed his walks, and those walks became my excuse to leave the house, to get away from the silence that pressed in on me when Mark wasn't there. It was during one of those walks that I met Ryan. He had a border collie named Daisy, and if Buddy was the sunshine of the park, Daisy was the lightning. She darted and spun with energy, and Buddy chased her with the goofy devotion of a best friend. The first time they played together, Ryan and I stood a few feet apart, laughing as our dogs tumbled across the grass. "You'd think they've known each other forever," Ryan said. I smiled. "I think Buddy's in love." Ryan laughed, and it was a sound I hadn't realized I was starving for. Laughter that wasn't polite or tired, but real and warm. We talked easily that day, about the dogs, about the weather, about how hard it was to keep up with them sometimes. When we left, Daisy pulled toward Buddy, and Buddy whined, as if begging me not to go. The next day, I found myself hoping I'd see them again. And I did. We fell into an unspoken routine. Around the same time every evening, we'd both show up at the park, dogs racing to each other like long-lost friends. At first, it was innocent. We sat on the bench while they played, swapping stories about their quirks. Ryan was easy to talk to. He was divorced, no kids, and worked in construction. His hands were rough, his smile crooked, and there was a calmness about him that felt like an anchor. He looked at me when I spoke, not over my shoulder, not at his phone, but at me, with a kind of attentiveness I hadn't felt in years. I started staying at the park longer. I told myself Buddy needed the exercise, but deep down I knew I was lingering for Ryan. Our conversations grew deeper. We talked about music, about books, about dreams we'd had once and tucked away when life got in the way. He asked questions that Mark never asked, what I wanted for myself, what made me happy, what scared me. I found myself laughing more, smiling more. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky in streaks of orange and pink, Ryan brushed a leaf out of my hair. His fingers grazed my temple, and my breath caught in my throat. It was such a small gesture, but it sent a current through me. We didn't speak of it, but I felt the shift. Something unspoken hung in the air between us. I went home that night and found Mark asleep on the couch, work laptop still glowing on the coffee table. I stood there looking at him, the man I had promised to love forever, and I felt this ache in my chest. Not anger, not even sadness, but loneliness, deep and sharp. I wanted to shake him awake, to tell him about the leaf in my hair, about the way Buddy and Daisy had chased each other until their tongues lolled out, about how beautiful the sky was. But I knew he'd only nod distractedly, maybe smile faintly, and then drift back into his spreadsheets. So I stayed quiet, and I went to bed. Over the weeks, Ryan became my secret escape. I used Buddy as my excuse every time. If I wanted to see Ryan, all I had to do was grab the leash and say, "Buddy needs a walk." Mark never questioned it. Why would he? Walking the dog was routine. That routine became my alibi, my cover, my permission slip to slip into a life that felt more alive than the one waiting for me at home. The first time Ryan and I went for coffee, it felt both dangerous and harmless. After all, we were just two friends grabbing a cup, right? But when he sat across from me in that little diner, leaning forward, listening like every word mattered, my heart betrayed me. I wanted more. And I could see in his eyes that he did too.